Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from South Texas, from San Antonio. That's where I grew up. I was born and raised there, and then I got married at a very young age, moved to Southern California, divorced there, and then I've been working as a nurse. That's how I kind of got out of the barrio, so to speak. And then I met my husband at an office where I was a nurse and he was a physician, and they teamed us together for I was a float nurse, so I had to take care of patients while his nurse was on vacation, so.
Okay.
That was the beginning.
All right, and that's when you started your family and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
How'd you get to Florida?
Well, what was that, 1996, sweetie? Yeah, in 1996, his company closed their medical practices there in Southern California. And so he had been with, in South Florida at Broward General down south.
Okay, Broward County.
And he knew he liked it. And so he came and interviewed with Humana. And so he had been with them ever since. And then when he retired, they didn't want him to quit, and so he worked up here in Northeast Florida for about a year or two. And then COVID hit, and then he said, no, I'm not doing it anymore.
Okay, and that's when he kind of got
Yeah,
out.
and then he fully retired. Yeah.
Okay. So you've been in Northeast Florida for how long then?
Well, since 2017, Kumars, is that correct? Yeah, 2017.
So this is about, I think it was 8 years.
8 years,
now.
yeah.
Okay,
It doesn't seem like that long, because I'm still exploring and learning so many new things.
And
yeah.
it's evolving as well. So
Well, yeah,
is
it's
a big
grown.
part. Yes, ma'am. So you know what else has grown within that time is the Hispanic community.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes. What is it? I don't know. Last time I checked, it was 11.9%, I think, and I was wondering if maybe the figures are higher than that now, or who knows? With everything going on, it might be lower. I was looking at some statistics. Yeah, I was looking at some statistics, and during the past year, since January of 2025, there have been 1 million immigrants who have either left the country or been deported out. And I thought, that's a lot of people.
So how does that make you feel as someone who's like an advocate for your Hispanic heritage and really getting the voices out about what the Hispanic community does for Northeast Florida?
Well, it's definitely lit a fire underneath me to say that no, all immigrants are not murderers, rapists, and thieves, which seems to be the dominant narrative. Either that, or we burden the social systems of society, which unfortunately is untrue. So it's really put me on a mission to change the narrative, and that's really why I started again doing that. The public speaking, and then of course I would love to start a few more oral history projects as well to interview more immigrants now.
Well, let's get into that because, well, first, for those who may not know the difference between just being like a historian and being an oral historian, like what is that and what got you into exploring that?
Okay. An oral historian it can be of any discipline, but we conduct oral histories, which is life stories from people that we might be doing research about the particular group, or say I have some friends who are in nursing and they collected oral histories from their patients to study data from either teen pregnancy or different subjects, topics, blood pressure in the Hispanic community or in different ethnic groups. And then I've had some friends who are teachers who did, in fact, one in particular I remember, she was a Japanese descendant, and her parents had been incarcerated during World War II, and so she was doing an oral history project on the Japanese immigrants and teachers.
Okay.
And she was in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't get into oral history until my graduate school, and that was at Florida Atlantic University. I went to graduate school, there. So FAU, I'm very, it's near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
Yes. And I took a class in writing about race and change, and we had to do oral histories. And of course, I was unaware of what went on. I thought, well, I'm not a historian. I'm not a history major, but I love history. And so we were taught that, okay, you have to look at the historical milieu and do some research there as well. And then you have a more informed view. And then you go out into the community, and we will be interviewing, we interviewed Holocaust survivors who were in the area. It was down in Boca. And then also there were a lot of African American communities down there. And so we interviewed people who had lived through the Jim Crow era, who had graduated under segregated conditions down there. And so we were interviewing them. And I actually had the honor of interviewing a woman, the librarian, who was founder of the African American Research Culture and Cultural Center and Museum in Broward. Her name was Julie Hunter, and she had worked with Medgar Evers, and was out in the field because she had been a volunteer for a paid position for the NAACP. And she would go and investigate crimes that had been committed. And she remembers coming up to Jacksonville and having to view a body of an individual that had been murdered. And so she would go onto those kinds of places. And she said that she remembers vividly having a fire hose put on them, and then they were being chased by the German Shepherd dogs, and they just barely made it into the car, into safety, before the dogs came. So she talked about all that, and it was just so interesting and amazing, and she was an amazing woman. So those are the type of people that I've been very privileged
To make connections.
And that was during that was during the graduate school. You can imagine now what I've come across in our own community here in northern Florida. I've come into contact with people who have created and founded the Mayor's Hispanic Advisory Board, and very close with former Mayor John Delaney, and together they built it up. And I've interviewed actually 2 of the members of the original Mayor's Hispanic Advisory Board, Tomas Jimenez, and then Dr. Benitez, Norberto Benitez. And they, in and of themselves, have created major businesses here in Northeast Florida, and they're both Cuban immigrants. Exactly. Employing thousands. Mr. Jimenez had a construction business, and it was a large firm that it was large enough that they could go for government contracts in the city of Jacksonville. And I know he's built something very important in Jacksonville, but I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. But he's done that. And then Dr. Benitez has a 24-hour pediatric clinic in the Beaches area, And he's also formed a nonprofit organization that does work in Uganda. I think it's called Bright Eyes Uganda.
So you've been instrumental in telling those stories and bringing them to the forefront.
Exactly, exactly. And that's my goal, is to let the community know, hey, we've got all these wonderful, great people here. And they need to be thanked and acknowledged and appreciated, for what they've done for our community.
Okay, so take me back to 2021. I think that was around the time when you visited the Jacksonville Historical Society, and you were just shocked.
Yes, yes. The archivist at that time, and he is now at the Ritz Museum, Mitch, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, your last name, Mitch Heeman. Mitch Heeman. He was at the society, and he was the one who kind of got the ball rolling, so to speak. And I said, well, is it okay if I come and look at your archives to see what you have? And of course, I did a lot of my research down in South Texas at the University of Texas in Austin. And they have one of the largest Hispanic archives there. I mean, it goes back to, the 1600s, 1500s, I mean, really long time ago. So I was expecting, well, maybe not that on that scale, but at least I was expecting something. And I said, okay. And usually whenever I go, I'm used to wearing the gloves and this and that. And so I said, okay, so where are the archives? And he goes, it's right here. It was a manila folder with about very thin, with about 18 pages max of information over the last 50, 60 years, maybe, if I was lucky. And I said, oh, is that what you have? And he goes, well, yes, and then we have all these city directories. And so then I asked him about, because I'm notorious, I said, well, do you have any racially restrictive housing covenants? And he goes, ooh, I don't know. And so he started doing a search, and he was able to uncover a racially restrictive housing covenant for the area. And I think it was for the beaches area that he discovered that one. I still have it in my notes and everything, the original. And he was shocked, and I said, well, I was expecting that, because it's only natural that, in this area, because it's a former, it's the South, and it's a former bastion of the Jim Crow era and the laws. And I know that there were a lot of groups around here. So I had done some research, and that I knew about some of the history of the area. And then because of my expertise in the Hispanic community in South Texas, I knew that these things existed, but many times they were covered up. In fact, I found one in the archives in the Boca Raton Historical Society. I found one, and I went to the city hall there, and I asked for that law or that covenant. And whenever the person at City Hall grabbed it and looked it up, she started reading it, and she goes, oh my, I didn't know we still had this. I thought that had been purged.
Oh goodness.
And so when I showed it to my professor, I was a shoo-in after that.
You really uncovered something.
I uncovered something. Yeah. So, yeah. So, those kind of things have been serendipitous in some respects, but it does, you have to go through things with a fine-tooth comb and listen. If someone is willing to share that information with you, you have to listen and just act upon it, and then do your own research as well.
And that speaks to you wanting to get the different voices to fill in that gap, that huge gap of what lacked.
Yes.
And the history and everything.
Yes. And that's really what kind of put me on fire, so to speak, for the area. And because it was COVID, and because I am a senior citizen, I thought, well, I don't know if I can do it in person, but I certainly can do it on Zoom. So if I can give credit to he was then the president of the Duval Hispanic Caucus, Mario de Cunto. He was instrumental. He was the first one in the Latino community that listened to me, to what I had to say, and took me seriously. I had tried a few other avenues, and they just kind of like, yeah, I'll call you back, and that was it. It was a dead end, yeah. And so he gave me a few names, and he let me interview him, first of all. He was my first, I think, that I interviewed. And after that, it was the snowball effect. It just kept on growing and growing and growing. And by the end of, I think, 3 or 4 months, I went from 0 to 45 oral history interviews, and all on Zoom. So I was busy. Yeah. Okay. But it was wonderful because then word of mouth, oh yes, I have someone else who might be interested. Yes, I have someone else. And so I ended up getting a really good overall view of the area and the different immigrant communities. The only community that I am lacking would be the Peruvian, and they were going through a lot of turmoil politically at that time, and they were afraid to talk to me. And I do have some interviews that are very sensitive in nature, and I just opened up a new collection of oral histories called the Rebecca Dominguez-Karimi Oral History Collection in St. Augustine at their research library. And several of those, and so they have, we've had to put, what can I say? They aren't advertised to the public, and they won't be shared online or anything because they're so sensitive in nature, and we're trying to protect the
person and the story as well. Okay, that's respectful though. So how many do you think you have now since you've started? And
well, yes, I think I have around 60.
Okay.
So not that many, but enough.
Yes.
And I have one in Clay County, one in Nassau County, and then I want to say 10 or 12 maybe, or the remainder have been from St. Johns County. And I got very fortunate, and I was also interviewing people in the Minorcan community in St. Augustine.
Okay.
And that's a interesting group. They have been here since I want to say the 1750s, when they came through New Smyrna Beach, and they came here as indentured servants.
Oh wow, okay. Minorcan, you said?
Minorcan, they're from the island of Minorca. It's off the coast of Spain.
Okay.
And those immigrants that came during that era were from Spain, Italy, I want to say Turkey, and Greece. So, but they all came over, and they're known as Minorcans.
Okay, so you dig really deep into the roots of Hispanic and Latino heritage to really uproot those stories that cover them and everything. So
I try.
You try. Well, you're doing a good job. Not trying. You're doing. You're making an imprint. So that's something that can't be contested.
Well, thank you. I try. As I said, I try.
Okay.
But anyhow, go ahead.
And you're of Mexican descent.
Mexican American, yes.
Ma'am. So how does Hispanic Heritage Month what does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you, and how do you represent your heritage in that?
Okay. Well, Hispanic Heritage means a great deal to me. I'm glad that we are celebrating it. I'm glad that it's still being recognized, even though I know it was taken off the official calendars, like other national events. I just look at it as a way to celebrate our heritage, our culture, and of course the Hispanic or the Latino population is not a monolithic population. We're so different and varied. I've known Hispanics who are mixed with Chinese, who are, of course, the Afro-Latinos, the indigenous, the mestizos from Mexico. So we're mixed with so many different, and if you go to California, I think we have a few from the Philippines that are also mixed as well. So it's a wide variety of peoples, and of course the Spaniards. But I think it's a great opportunity to recognize the different facets of the Latino and Hispanic communities, and celebrate it. Celebrate that what we've given to the United States while we've been here.
Yes, ma'am. And continuing to do that.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am. Okay, so I'd say when we look towards the future, let's say future generations are looking at the work that you have done and you put out into the world, what would you want that takeaway to be? What would you want them to take away? What message are you trying to leave for these future generations?
Well, number one, to know that we existed, that hopefully we haven't been erased, that our history lives on through them and our culture. I know I failed to answer the last half of your question. How do I observe it? I put out an altar every Dia de Muertos, and it also falls during the Hispanic Heritage Month. Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead. The Day of the Dead. Yeah, Dia de Muertos. And I have my grandchildren, at least, I'll tell them about the ancestors that we have. I have a lot of old photos from the late 1800s of my great-grandparents who came here. I have their photos up, and really to remember our ancestors and what we did for the community, for the country. And remind them of their heritage, because it's a beautiful, beautiful heritage that we have, that we share, and that's what I hopefully future generations will remember, and that yes, the Latinos and Hispanics in the Jacksonville area did have a profound impact. I mean, look at the cigar factories that were once here. Those still continue, that history continues to have an impact on all of us. I just now saw a video about Manuel's Tap Room. He was a Puerto Rican who helped some of the baseball players that were African American and one Afro-Latino during the 1950s, whenever segregation was at its highest. And he housed them in his home for the baseball club. So these type of things.
That was locally?
Yes, locally.
Wow. Okay.
Manuel's Tap Room, I think, was the name of the business that he had.
Okay, I have to look that up. Yeah, that's an interesting fact.
Yes, yes. I can send you the video that I saw.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's all in Spanish, but maybe you can get it to translate. I don't know how Google would translate it, but I'm sure they could. It would.
Okay.
But yeah, and so things like that. I'm glad that it will stay here, and that the voices of the people, that you can hear them, you can hear the emotion in their voices. They're telling you their stories, especially the ones that did suffer hardship in order to get here. Might have been the bombing in Cuba during the revolution that they experienced. Or I have one narrator or two that witnessed a lot of violence in South America where they were at, and they were forced to come here because they were on the school bus, and all of a sudden a gunman came on and started shooting at the children. So, I mean, just trauma.
Stories.
Yeah, there were horrific stories of trauma that have come, and I think that you probably will find that so many of us Latinos do experience some kind of trauma in getting here or wherever we have lived before as well.
But I think, well, I guess I'll ask, are there also stories of like triumph that come
Oh
out of
yes,
it as well?
oh yeah. Well, and of course you have that coupled with the triumph that they've had later on in life because of their persistence. They've been able to grow their families, grow their business, and in the case of the Mr. Jimenez and then Dr. Benitez, you know, they came here as refugees, and then they just prospered. One woman that I had, one woman there, and she said, well, you know, some of us tried, but then we stopped trying, and so they talk about that. Different types of activities here that they've participated in. I have one gentleman who used to put on festivals during the different times of the year. He's from Puerto Rico, and I guess they had a festival that was near the beach, and they would Fiesta de Playera or something like that, and they would go to the beach, and when the waves would come in, they would, it represents something which I forget, but anyway.
It has some real significance behind
But it has a lot of, yeah, and he was able to bring a lot of importance to the Hispanic presence here, and by holding those festivals, and they were well attended, and I know that he did multiple. And now, of course, we have Taco Fest, we have, I think we're going to have another Dia de Muertos, and then there's another wonderful lady, Arlene Ortiz, who has Community Fest every year, once or twice a year, and she's having another one, I think at UNF this weekend on October 4th. So every year she has them, and lots of people attend those. I think she has in the thousands that will be in attendance.
Okay.
So the community is
still making progress.
Still making progress.
Yes, and leaving that imprint again
exactly.
on Northeast Florida.
Exactly.
As they should. Okay. Well, I'm not trying to hold you long. This has been great. I think I just have like 2 more questions.
That's fine. That's fine. Ask away.
I know that you like to, well, you get asked to do presentations. And I know when we first talked, you also spoke about how the people who are requesting your presence for their events, they look different outside of the Hispanic community. What does that really, how does that really speak to like the unification that's needed when it comes to this topic?
Yes. I have been asked by am I allowed to refer to political parties? Or would you rather keep it? Yeah. Okay, okay. Well, the St. John's Democratic Party has several different levels or different clubs. And the first club that asked me was the Democratic Women's Club of St. John's County. She's from England, I think. She's got a beautiful British accent. Okay. And she said, please, we're concerned about our community, and we would like to have you speak to us about it. And so that was whenever that came up. But then previously, I had been communicating with the librarians at Nemours, who saw one of my Facebook pages or my YouTubes. I'm not quite sure exactly how they got my name, but they wanted me to present for Hispanic Heritage Month, and they liked, yeah,
That's good.
So one never knows.
Yes.
And I've even had requests from Oregon, from the Power and their version of Florida Power and Light. In Oregon, they requested during COVID, they requested I do something for their diversity week, and it was during Hispanic Heritage. But there have been, I guess what you'd call groups on both ends of the spectrum that have asked me, but it's been the Democratic women. Then that led to the Duval Hispanic Caucus asking me, and then the North St. Johns County Progressives have asked me, and that one's coming up in November.
Okay.
And then Indivisible of St. Johns County has asked me. So I've done 2 for them already or no, I've done one, and I'm going to do another for them actually at No King's Day, at their march.
Oh, okay. That's one part that was going around. Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, there have just been different opportunities. Of course, some are shorter than others.
And you're open to like all of those opportunities?
Right,
Because of what?
because I want to change the narrative. And they are seeking as well information about us, and they're concerned. They're showing concern for our community, for the Latino community here.
And how does that make you feel when they reach out to you in that way?
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I'm serving as Hispanic liaison for the St. Johns County Democratic Party.
Okay.
And so since that's occurred, I've been getting lots of requests to kind of start building the bridges between the two communities. And I'm so touched and really enjoy setting up meetings and Zoom calls and other activities if we can.
So you're bridging that gap in more than one way.
I'm hoping to, yes. I'm trying my best. As I said, I'm trying. All I can do is try.
Well, if you're saying, okay, this is my last question, I'm done.
Certainly.
And you can just let me know, like, whatever you like to speak on that we haven't touched on. But you keep saying that you're trying. What solidifies to you that you're making that progress?
Well, let's just say that when I get a call at 8 a.m. in the morning from someone, some organization member, president or member, saying, I just heard a rumor that they're picking up, that ICE is going to be picking up people today.
Mm.
And so they were warning me to warn my community. And so that type, you know that there's care and concern, and that they realize that there is a lot of injustice going on. And so I know that I'm making an impact on them, that they know that they can come to me, and I will at least follow through and get it to the powers that be, or to the different communities that need that information.
As an advocate, as a community advocate.
Exactly, as a community advocate. Thank you. Sometimes I fail to want to label myself in any particular way, because I always consider myself an oral historian first and foremost.
Okay.
But you're right, as a community advocate.
So yeah, there's some advocacy behind that.
And a lot of activism as well.
Yes, ma'am. I can hear it. Okay, well, this has been great. Is there anything else that we didn't touch on, or any other points that you'd like to make before we end it off?
Well, I think that the fact that what put the fire underneath me initially, whenever I was 8 or 9 years old, I was speaking Spanish on the school ground in South Texas, and another little girl heard me, and she reported it to my teacher. And when we went back into class, I was called into the principal's office. I didn't know why, and he was there, and he said, I heard you're speaking Spanish on the school ground. That's not permitted. You're not to speak Spanish here. And of course, Spanish at that time, it was my first language, and we were playing house. And we were just playing, children playing in the schoolyard. And so I was chastised for that, and he told me, don't ever speak Spanish again. Especially, and I said, well, we speak it at home. My father was from Mexico, and so he would speak to us in Spanish, and we would answer him back in Spanish. And he said, no, at home, anywhere, you're not to speak Spanish. You live in America. You live here. You're not living in Mexico. So that had an impact on me, and of course, being I obviously shrank back into complacency for many, many years until I realized that this was not right. And so whenever I do see anything like that, it puts a fire underneath me and lets me know that when there is something amiss, that it really should be addressed. And that's how I've continued to feel even to this day.
Just being fueled with that.
It's fuel for my fire.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a girlfriend who tells me that I was born in January, that my goat horns are sticking out.
You're ready. That's good. Like, I see that. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.